In this video, I'm gonna show you how you can use the Grand Prix attack against the Sicilian Defense in order to launch a quick kingside attack and increase your winning chances. So the Grand Prix attack starts after the move e4 c5 and then you play knight to c3. This is the closed Sicilian. Knight to c6 is the common move and then you play f4. This is the Grand Prix attack, and the idea of this move is to launch a kingside attack and gain some space advantage. So here you are going to develop your knight and mostly move your bishop to b5 in order to trade your bishop for this knight. Here the two most common responses by black is e6 and g6. So let's look at them one by one. First, if black goes e6, then you just play knight f3, developing your knight. Here the most common move is d5, striking in the center. But you just completely ignore this and play bishop to b5, putting pressure on this knight. So if he takes, you can just recapture this pawn. And pushing this pawn forward is not a good idea because it will create some weaknesses. So he goes knight f6, common move. Then you just play bishop takes c6. And after pawn takes c6, you play e5, attacking this knight. If the knight goes to d7, then you can just take this knight and it will create some weaknesses for black. So he have to play knight to d7. Then you just play d3, opening up this bishop. So let's say goes bishop e7, preparing to castle. And here both side castle. And here your main idea is to play queen to e1 and f5 to open up this king and continue attacking. So let's say for example he plays bishop b7, then you can play queen g3. Let's say he make a random move like knight b6, then you play f5. The idea behind this move is not to lose a pawn but open up your dark square bishop. So let's say he goes e takes f5, then you can just play bishop to h6, and as you can see, black is just completely losing. You are threatening mate in 1 and he cannot play bishop to f6 because of this pawn. So he have to play g3 and lose the exchange. Now let me show you the most common move played in this position, which is g6. This is the main move in the Grand Prix attack, with the idea of fiancé shattering his bishop to have a good control along the center. So after knight f3, he goes bishop g7, then you play bishop b5, with the same idea of exchanging your bishop for the knight and then play d3. So he goes knight d4, attacking your bishop, and here you can play knight takes d4 or even castle. So let's say for instance you castle and he goes knight takes b5, then you recapture this knight and then he goes d5, striking in the center. Now here you have two choices, either to play e5 or take this pawn. If you take this pawn, then black can recapture this with the queen, and after something like knight c3, he can exchange this knight with the bishop, and then after takes, this position is quite equal and might end in a draw. Therefore here you have to play e5, blocking this bishop's diagonal. Let's say he goes a6, attacking your knight, then you just bring your knight back, and d4 is not a good move because it will create some weaknesses. So he goes bishop g4, pinning your knight to the queen. Then you just play d4, striking in the center, c takes d4, and then you're not going to capture this pawn with the queen because of knight to a6 and then knight to f5. So you play knight to e2, then he goes knight h6. Then you just take this pawn and the game goes on. You can just play queen e1 and bring your queen here and f5 in the future to launch a kingside attack. And here you also have the option to play knight takes d4. Then he will go c takes d4. Then you go knight e2, attacking this pawn. He cannot push forward because you can just take this pawn with the bishop. So he goes knight h6. And then you just castle here. with the same idea of queen e1 and then play d3, f5 and open up your bishop and launch a quick kingside attack. Well, this is not the end. If you haven't watched the previous video on the Sicilian Defense, then you can check out those videos by clicking on this playlist. And if you want to learn some chess traps in the Sicilian Defense, then you can click on this right video. And if you don't want to miss the upcoming videos, then don't forget to subscribe.